Quick.
Short.
Bursts.
With.
Young.
And Adam.
Yeah.
Short burst with Adam and Young. Quick, short burst with Young and Adam. Quick, short burst. Quick, short burst. Quick, short burst with Adam and Young. Let's get crazy tonight, little honey bunny. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah.
Woo!
You know how you mentioned a while ago that people say that dudes who are into legs have some sort of arrested development? Maybe they're
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that R. Crumb
into
thing.
their moms or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's okay. So what are you supposed to be into then?
I know. That's exactly what I think. How do you do it right? If that's
So I was like,
wrong...
if you're a boob guy, that seems even more Oedipal to me.
Yeah, hello.
It's like, I want to suck on mommy's boobies and drink her milk, you know?
Do you know why you're into breasts? Let me tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you know why you're into vaginas? Maybe you don't remember this, but you came out of one of those. So...
Those things seem way more Oedipal to me than legs or butts.
Yeah. I think there's a... people can come up with a way to be pissed at you for being into just about anything.
And they just come up with weird rationales to hate people or just look down on you for whatever you're into.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I definitely went through a long period of my life where anytime I would hear a little thing like that, like just some little, it's kind of trivia that comes up, right? Like you see something in a movie, like exactly what I was saying with R. Crumb, where someone's like, oh yeah, well, if you're into this, that means that. I would instantly be like, oh shit, like what does this mean about me and how, it's that sense without having any real idea of how to do it right. It's like, oh, I guess I'm doing it wrong. So what can I do about that? I have no idea how freakish I am in that regard.
No, I don't think so. I think everyone questions themselves when they hear things like that.
Yeah, it's taken a really long time for me to get to the point of being like, I'm okay.
People make up a lot of bullshit.
Right. Yeah.
People make up a lot of bullshit. They literally just make things up.
Yeah.
Like the first thought that comes into their head, they think, oh, there must be something to this, so I'm going to say it to other people.
Well, and I feel like sometimes it's kind of like smuggling disapproval in another way. Like, obviously, there are a lot of folks who aren't into Robert Crumb stuff to begin with. And if maybe they feel like it's too prudish or kind of just square or something to be like, oh, I don't like your subject matter or I don't like the way that you draw or whatever. If you can have some kind of a pseudo psychological way to say like, oh, here's what's wrong with you, then that's so much easier to kind of let out in public.
Yeah. Legs are not prudish though. Legs are just sexy.
No, well, I don't mean, yeah.
They mean
he does a lot of
people-
other stuff aside from legs though, is what I'm saying. It's, yeah.
Okay.
I forgot to grab glasses of water, by the way. Do you want one? That's probably a
sure,
good idea.
yeah.
All right. Keep, I don't know, tap dance or something.
I'll keep talking. There's this thing going on at my work lately, and I hear it's happening more and more at other workplaces. But the micromanagement is getting out of hand these days. They have these online systems now where you have to track pretty much everything you do throughout the day, down to like the minute or even the second. So you're constantly clicking on the screen like, I'm doing this right now. I'm moving on to this now. And I heard some workplaces, they even monitor your bathroom breaks. You have to log it.
I've heard that.
My workplace hasn't gotten to that point yet, which I'm thankful for. But maybe I shouldn't, be too thankful because it might happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could just track you with your badge or something. Like, oh, you went into the shitter at 9:53 and you didn't come out until 10:20. That's
know.
time theft.
Well, it's like that old, what is that? It's like a couplet. For every dollar my boss makes, I make a dime. That's why I shit on company time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for a good couplet.
I think maybe someone in IT or in management read that and got really pissed.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Ooh, not
All
for
right.
long, you don't.
Yeah. You think that's funny, buddy? You think you're going to go in there and take a mega long shit and play on your smartphone for 30 minutes? Nah. Because we're logging your shit time now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're logging your shit time.
Log.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got you.
I didn't even mean to make that pun. It just came out that way.
I only recently caught a pun you did mean to make when I was re-listening. I think it was embarrassingly like the fourth or fifth time I had listened to the episode when you had your bit about the Ottomans moving in.
Oh, yeah.
So to speak. I was sitting there, I was like, well, I guess I just wasn't, I mean, I heard it every time. Yeah. I mean, in some ways it's an awful pun, but it's also a brilliant pun.
I thought it just it didn't land well. Because you didn't react to it when I said it, so I thought, oh, that was a really bad joke. It was like so bad that Adam just did not respond to it at all.
I wish I had heard it at least, or noticed it, so I could go, oh no,
yeah,
oh no,
oh no. That is like worse than a dad joke, buddy.
That I think that is a dad joke.
So I was thinking about this recently. You know how there's all these PC terms for everything these days. Like people prefer to be called certain terms,
sure,
as opposed to like these older terms that maybe they feel are disrespectful. So I was wondering what about people who can't speak for themselves, like someone who's in a coma, they get called vegetables, right? Do you think someone in a coma likes to be called that? I doubt it. That seems like a very, very, very derogatory term.
Yeah. Vegetable American.
They're like, excuse me, I'm not a vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm someone with very, very low brain activity, okay?
This is a miracle. Their indignation prompted them to come out of this coma briefly and stand up for themselves.
All my other vital signs are still there, buddy. My heart's beating. I'm
breathing.
I'm pooping and all that stuff.
Yeah. Does that happen?
Do not call me a vegetable.
Yeah. Vegetables don't poop.
And I was like, what about dead people? Could they be called metaphysically challenged?
They could indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's all these like stiffs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even corpse has a certain connotation to it. Can we not do better than that?
The guy kicked the bucket, he croaked.
A person not experiencing anything anymore. How about that?
Yeah. Maybe that's what ghosts are pissed off about. They're like, don't call me dead, you piece of shit. Do you think you're better than me because you're alive?
Just wait, pal.
Yeah. I don't like the way you think about me and talk about me.
I'm haunting you it's a matter of respect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Life privileged pieces of shit.
Mm-hmm.
You guys don't realize how lucky you are and how good you have it. Or maybe we do, but we're just assholes.
We're still kind of assholes about it. Yeah. Stupid dead folks.
Fucking guy.
3 dead guys walk into a bar. Oh wait, I'm not supposed to tell these kinds of jokes right now.
Oh, look at the dead guy. He's just lying there. He turned a weird color too.
Look at the life draining out of him.
He can't do anything because he's dead.
Yeah.
And the corpse is like, I'm not dead, I'm metaphysically challenged.
We've been insensitive up till now.
I think so too.
Up till right now.
But now that we're spreading the word about it.
Mm-hmm. Raising awareness.
Mm-hmm.
I had a thought the other day. You're familiar with boxed wine?
Yes.
And that's been around a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest time, it was kind of a low class sort of a thing. Nowadays, somehow there's been a renaissance in boxed beverages, and there's like Trader Joe's sells a whole ton of different kinds of boxed wines, and it's good stuff. Like I buy it occasionally. I have one right now. But what I realized was the naming is just an absolute fucking sham, because that's a cardboard box. There's no way you pour wine into a cardboard box. You know what's going to happen. It's not going to be boxed wine for long. It's just going to like leak all over the place. So what they have in there is a foil bag. Mm-hmm. You open up the box and it's bagged wine. Bagged wine. Like, is that so hard to say, or like what's the problem here?
I don't know. Why do they call it boxed wine?
They're basing their whole enterprise on a lie. I mean, sure, technically it's boxed, but I mean, you could put that box in a barrel. Are you going to call it barreled wine?
No.
It's bagged wine.
That actually sounds a little classier.
I think so.
I got a bag of wine here. Your friends are like, that looks pretty sophisticated.
Young showed up with a bag of wine today.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Last time he showed up with a box, which I was just kind of skeeved out by. Nice bag of wine.
The bag, it's even nicer than
Much
the
more
bottle.
appealing.
Yeah. Was he wearing a monocle or something? He just looked classy. I'm not sure.
It's a nice touch. I like how he did that. It really complimented the silverware and the plates too.
Yeah, it's shiny. It's true. It looks like it's a futuristic kind of thing.
The only thing I didn't like about it was the way it just kind of sagged there on the table next to things. It didn't stand up very well.
Yeah, when he held it up, like sort of grabbing it from the scruff of its neck, it looked very,
presentable.
Yeah. It was kind of perky, but when you set it down on the table and it just kind of like flumps over like a dejected vessel. Yeah. Maybe that's why. Okay, I think we got there.
So, why did the Catholic school children cry?
Why?
Because the nun popped a boner?
Oh.
Why did the nun pop a boner?
That was what I was about to ask you.
She was a priest in disguise.
The oldest trick in the book.
Yeah.
You know how people will say like, oh, I can count the number of times that's happened on one hand. That kind of thing,
Yeah.
What about I can count the number of times that's happened on my penis?
Because it just happened once?
Yeah. I mean, that's nice and clear, right?
Unless you're one of those double-penised people.
There is room for ambiguity there. Or maybe I don't even have a penis. I only seem to, and so then it never happened.
Would it count more if you have a bigger penis or less if you had a smaller penis?
That happened one huge time.
One gigantic time, dude. I could count it on my penis. Or it happened one teeny tiny fractional time. It happened in the size of my micro penis.
Yeah.
But my micro penis when it's erect, so it was a little less pathetic.
Yeah. It was a perfectly respectable average length time. I can count it on my penis.
I brought up micro penises last time too.
Did you?
Yeah. That means I'm insecure about my penis.
Oh dear. Well,
what do we do?
What do we do? I mean,
it feels good to get it out there though.
That is good.
Everyone, I want you to know that I'm ashamed of my penis and I feel very inadequate and I think it might be too small.
Well, I'm glad we can talk about this.
Me too. Sometimes I weep when I'm alone, thinking about it.
I'm a firm believer of the whole size of the motion of the ocean versus the size of the boat.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's all about technique.
Yeah.
If I, let's say to those people, including myself, who might have a micro penis, just get really good at oral.
Yep.
Maybe develop your toy technique as well.
Yep.
And then just be
a
well-rounded person otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't be a total asshole. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. If you have a micro penis, yeah, you have no room to be an asshole. On top of that. A really misogynistic, chauvinistic dude with a micro penis would just be hilarious.
I bet that happens pretty often, though, don't you think?
Maybe it does, actually, because I got issues.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think those people don't want to dig into their subconscious the way we're doing right now.
But we also talked about that song last time. Or those commercials where the 80s compilation.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I think I remembered the 70s songs that I was talking about this
time. What were
they? It was hot-blooded, check it and see. I got a fever over 103. All right now, baby, it's all right now.
Yep.
Well, that was it, right?
Yeah.
I didn't look it up or anything. I was thinking about it. I was like, what 2 songs was it? Because I felt like an idiot last time. I was like, yeah, that happens to me too. And then I couldn't even remember, like,
Oh, my mind works like that all the time. It's like there's something about being aware that it's being asked to recall something. It's like, just leave me the fuck alone. And and then I'll be, doing dishes or whatever later. And it's like, oh, here's that thing you wanted.
yep. You always remember later. And there's also a term for when you come up with a really good comeback to something someone said to you later. And it's
l'esprit d'escalier.
Yeah, staircase wit. And I actually didn't remember the term just now, so I'm glad you did. I'm really, really glad you knew it. Because that would have been another dud. What is it again? L'esprit
d'escalier.
D'escalier.
The spirit of the stairs. Something like that. Yep. I love that one.
It is a good one.
I have that all the time too. That, specifically for like having something, witty to say in response to somebody being an asshole or whatever. It's very rarely in the moment for me anymore.
Yeah, it's always like I always come up with the best comeback later. I'm like, oh fuck, I know what I should have said to that guy.
And it's not even hard either in the moment, which makes me think there really is something to just kind of being relaxed and not being tense about the thing. Because I'll just replay it in my head. And then this thing just comes out of me. I'm like, oh, fuck, where were you?
Yeah, it's like once the adrenaline kicks in, it's
different.
It's like all your blood, I heard, goes to your vital organs. That's why you kind of become more empty-headed. Because all the blood rushes away from your brain and into like your heart and your... wherever that you need it the most. Yeah.
You need it for pummeling.
Yeah, so you got to stay calm in those situations.
Yeah, so that you can be a witty asshole. And I think it's worth it.
Yeah, it's like that episode of Seinfeld, where George is talking about the jerk store called.
Yeah.
And they're out of you or...
Yeah.
It was something like that.
Yep.
But that other guy always got him.
Yeah, he always had
way better ones.
He's like, what's the difference? You're the biggest seller.
Yeah.
When we were talking about roasting each other, and I mentioned it to my brother around that time, he brought up that episode. He's like, just tell him he had sex with his wife.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually. That could really tick someone off. That is really a territory that people should not go into.
I know. Well, you notice I did not say it.
Yeah. But if someone... Sometimes, it made me think, like, if someone said that to me and they were serious, I'd be like, what? That'd be pretty infuriating.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. It's worse than I think your mom, something about someone's mom. Because you just... It's such a overused thing, and... you just almost know for certain that it didn't happen. And but with a wife, you're kind of like, what did you just say to me, you son of a bitch?
I think you're doing a really good job of like putting the needle onto the turntable of your feelings about this. It's just like, boom, right there. No, it's a low context low context language situation, right? Yeah.
You got pretty red just now.
It makes me a little nervous. It does. Yeah. I'm like, well, and that's exactly why I didn't say it. I mean, clearly I was like, that's territory you don't go to.
Suddenly the tension in this room just rose. Like,
it's funny.
Just and of course,
my brother was joking too, but he does that kind of thing all the time where he's just like, he likes being able to say things that are kind of out of reality, just like absurd or ridiculous in some way. And it was really funny, but it was also like, like that's the gap between being able to like jokingly say that kind of thing as an idea and then like actually doing it, or even lessening that gap to talking about doing it or talking about saying it, is like, it got real for a moment there. Oh, let's see.
So the turd walked into the room and asked everyone, "Is it stinky in here, or is it just me?" That's what they call self-defecating humor.
Oh, God. Are you ready for Way of the Future?
The way of the future, the way of the future, the way of the future, the way of the future.
Yeah, let's take it the other direction. Let's go into the future.
All right. For this installment of Way of the Future, I wanted to talk more about wearables, which...
Werewolves?
Oh, that would be kick-ass. I'm going to talk about enunciation first, I guess. Wearables.
Wearables, okay.
And specifically about nanotechnology. I imagine you're familiar with that a bit. The idea, for anybody out there who's not, is that nanotechnology involves kind of the bleeding edge of tech when it comes to miniaturization, making essentially tiny robots that can do all kinds of different things. They look at it in terms of medicine and materials science, like coming up with different new materials and different ways that robots can change your everyday life in terms of like all the opportunities that are there in terms of these things being smart or internet connected or whatever, being aware in different ways, the different kinds of sensors. So it's a really wide subject. But I started thinking about it in terms of convenience, as I often do with a lot of these things. And so just kind of the way that this stuff is advancing, one of the pieces that you hear a fair bit about is that they'll be able to kind of make fabrics out of nanites, I guess is what they're called, where all of these things are connected up, and you just have this what appears to be a normal fabric, but it can kind of shapeshift depending on how you want to program it to shapeshift. So the idea is that, some of the innovations will be simple and yet revolutionary when it comes to convenience. Something like a hat that can grow a brim to shield your face from the sun's harsh rays, but only when the sun comes out. Or say pants that dynamically adjust their size so you never need a belt. So they could fit you perfectly both before and after Thanksgiving dinner. You don't have to undo anything. And then I think, like that kind of stuff, as pieces like that are available and come up, and I think people will kind of start to get hooked on the convenience of things like that. So it could progress to more niche things, like maybe the modern sports superfan doesn't want to lug her giant foam, like we're number one hand around. So she just buys like a regular size glove to take to the football game, and it just grows a giant index finger and the printing on it on command. And then, really quickly it can get very weird if it hasn't already. So there's like, it's a slippery slope when it comes to upgrades. Like you could be sitting on your couch and tell yourself, like, well, why would I get up to go to the kitchen when my nano glove can just grow a tendril and reach across the living room into the kitchen and open the fridge and mangle a snack, So it gets, I think, kind of addictive and kind of self-feeding. And I think it would get to a point where they just start to wonder, like, why am I only wearing a glove or a hat or an athletic supporter made out of this nano stuff? Why not go all the way? At that point, I think it's kind of the point of no return. We reach this level where we're at just the full body nano suit, the nanotard. And once you're wrapped in one of these babies, you'll never want to go back. You want 8 arms? You got them. You want 12 cocks? Sure, just be careful out there. You want to be some kind of freaky snake person? Okay, I guess. People will literally be able to sculpt their bodies and their facial features to look pretty much however they want, puffing up the spots where you want lumps and smoothing over the spots where you don't. So for some people, it would act almost like a full-body girdle. But of course, like with squeezing a balloon, something's got to give somewhere. So this is where like the smart technology comes in. The algorithms could determine which spot is least visible. So it could be that like you could be out walking around and you might occasionally catch a brief glimpse of a man with a gigantic elbow or one huge ass cheek because it's like squeezing everything over into that spot. But then once the attention sensors kick in and realize that you are noticing that part, then they'll shift the flab over to somewhere else. It's like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle for love handles. The slogan, I like this slogan. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's an intricately woven network of microscopic, artificially intelligent automatons.
Wow. That's fascinating. The first thought I had was, it reminds me of something like a superhero would wear, like their suit would be made out of it, nano. materials.
Yeah, right. It kind of sounds that
But
way.
then if everyone has it, then it would kind of make it obsolete for a superhero. I
Like
guess.
everybody's superhero then.
Everyone's Daredevil suddenly, you know.
Yeah. Just a couple more thoughts here. When it comes to locomotion, like the idea that these things can kind of move and yet they're fixed is interesting to me. So like we already have those one-wheeled gyroscopic goofy things that we see people running around on the sidewalk and stuff, you know, and we think they're obnoxious right now because they are. But imagine how off-putting it will be to see someone gliding down the sidewalk while appearing to stand still, coasting on thousands of little self-propelled ball bearings. And it could also give regular walking a boost, kind of like when you're at the airport and you speed walk toward the terminal on one of those people mover things. But I think that all the rushing around stuff, it's only going to happen in the early stages of the nano revolution, before it sinks in for everyone, that when you're enveloped in a material that can, at any given moment, become 12 different kinds of sex toys at once, there's just not much reason to be in a hurry to get anywhere.
It's a fascinating idea. Can it work like that underwear that shapes your body?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I was thinking of, like
It would be almost like
Spanx or whatever.
everyone's got a girdle on.
Yeah, and but it's a smart girdle. It's like an eye girdle, so it can like move stuff all over the place. There could probably be an app, and you just sort of move stuff wherever you
It can
want.
be deceptive too, though. You won't really know what someone's body's shaped like.
Yeah, that's it. I
They
think.
can wear this amazing nano suit that makes them look just so fit and sexy.
Yeah,
Then it comes off and they just
but maybe it would
ooze
be
out of it.
Maybe what would give it away is people's kind of greed about it. Like you could be out on a date with a guy or something, and you look like you just kind of steal a glance. You're like, oh, he seems to have nice abs, but then you look and he has like a 14-pack. How does that work?
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah. Or like maybe he didn't even try to do that. Maybe the system crashed or something, and there's a bug.
You know, every guy would exaggerate his crotch bulge.
Yeah, you'd have
Like those rock and roll dudes who used to put like socks in their pants.
Yeah, there would just be this like basketball-sized piece down there.
I bet there's going to be slang
Nethers.
for people who are using it to lie about their bodies.
Yeah. Mm.
He's one of those nano smugglers or something.
Yep. Yeah, the other thing that it made me think of was, for that reason, well, between the convenience of it and the fact that it could mask, you know, any kind of, say, lack of fitness that you might have going on bodily, there's even less reason, like people would almost atrophy in a way, you know, they're like, oh, I don't have to reach anywhere to get anything because I can just kind of like Mr. Fantastic my beer out of the fridge. And
Yeah.
then when the beer gives me a beer gut, I don't have to do anything about it because my eye girdle can just push it somewhere else. So and when people have these things on, they'll just, you know, they'll look totally different from the little husk that is actually wearing it.
Yeah, everyone's going to be secretly obese.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're saying, they don't even have to walk anywhere.
Yeah. Just
thing-
kind of roll around.
The nanofibers or whatever just transport them everywhere.
I mean, obviously, I'm only half joking when I come up with this stuff.
Yeah.
I hope that's obvious. Because every time I think about this stuff, there are things that make me chuckle and then things that make me really concerned.
Yeah, but you know humanity's going to go the wrong direction with it. They're going to become excessive.
I wonder. Like, I'm surprised at how things in the real world, in the here and now, as convenient as a lot of things have been made by smartphones and stuff like that, there's still, you know, there's stuff like the Fitbit and the Apple Watch and stuff that keep people, like the Apple Watch actually made a big difference for me staying in better shape. It's kind of weird. I would never have imagined. I'm more cynical about that stuff usually. I'm just like, yeah, it's getting easier and it's going to get worse
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, but I don't know, somehow it can work. I don't know if it really will.
Technology is a double-edged dildo, as they say. It fucks you in good ways and bad ways.
I believe Lao Tzu said that.
Lao Tzu?
Isn't it Lao Tzu?
Oh, yeah, Lao Tzu.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Art of War guy?
pronunciation- Yeah.
Or no, was he someone else?
I think it's Art of War guy.
Okay.
We'll fix it in post if he's not.
Yeah, when we're saying Lao Tzu, it'll be like, Shang Tsung! That sounded totally natural, right?
Yeah,
That's
Nailed it.
What's your favorite shape of snack? Or your favorite shape, food shape?
Given the direction this conversation is taking, I have to think about my answer more. No, I don't know. I don't really. You know what? Circular.
Circular?
I like pizza a lot. I like pie a lot. Yeah.
My favorite food shapes of food are bananas, zucchinis, carrots, stuff like that. That's really long and tubular.
You like hot dogs?
Like hot dogs, sausages,
Yep.
and the thicker the better.
The girth is what you
Yeah.
look for. You like big like canned foods too, like a big thick can.
No, I don't like dealing with the can.
Okay.
I just want it to be able to go into my mouth and down my throat immediately.
Got it.
Did you want to talk about that movie we watched last week a little bit?
Sure.
For the last few minutes here?
Yeah.
Okay.
We watched Parasite. We haven't talked about it at all since then.
Yeah, I know.
It was funny because we met up after that. We had to split real soon after we left, but that was so good. Like, I actually don't want to talk about it too much because I really think more than most movies, it's important to go in not knowing too much about what's going on. But yeah, we can definitely talk some.
Well, let's just give a spoiler alert here.
Spoiler alert.
And this is the end here, so if you haven't seen it and you don't want it spoiled for you, turn it off now.
Yeah.
I really liked it. My only gripe, the one thing I noticed was some of the stuff just fit in too neatly, like the way the four family members infiltrated the poor family infiltrated the rich family's house. It just happened a little bit too neatly for me. Like suddenly all four of them are working for them.
Yeah.
And it happened there was a pretty cool story behind how they each got in, I thought.
Yeah.
It was very clever the way they did that, but it just seemed like it just happened like a little too in a facile way. But other than that, the cinematography was really amazing.
Yeah.
The editing was really good.
The story was just so good.
And it was just packed full of so many themes, like it was just full of metaphors, and it was really cool that way.
Yeah. The sort of affluence and poverty and the depth, like the literal depth of the city, like being up at the top end of it and then being down at the bottom where everything drains down.
Yeah.
But I really, before it takes a turn into the horrific, I thought it was just such a well-told story. Like you could almost have somehow, I don't think it would have been too hard to make it into just a total, not feel good, but it would have worked as a non-horror film, as just this kind of like social commentary. There was enough of a story arc already there.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that the horror piece of it felt tacked on, but I don't think I've ever seen a movie quite like that, where it really was practically freestanding before it got into any of the awful horror stuff.
Yeah, he could have gone that one direction and it still would have been a really good movie. Mm-hmm. I think it was kind of cool though that he added that twist in there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that the movie was so memorable to me. All the images were just really well executed, like the scenes and the setting, which I guess they just manufactured, which was crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
The poor family's house and the rich family's house, they just were sets that they made, which was amazing to me.
Yeah. In hindsight, you just sent that article to me last night about how the rich family's house was manufactured on a, it was like two different sets, I guess, really. In hindsight, it makes sense because that house was so perfect for the
movie,
the way that it was,
yeah.
The photography and the scenes were blocked out. That I guess just because it was such an elaborate and convincing house, my thought while seeing it was like, oh, they just really did a good job of figuring out how they were going to shoot in this house, and the house lent itself really well to that. But they designed it to do that, and they designed it really well. It was amazing.
One of the things that stuck out to me the most was the way they depicted how people in the lower classes tend to be very divided and there's a lot of infighting there.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the way that was depicted. Was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought there was some truth to that.
Definitely.
It wasn't a completely rosy depiction of the lower classes at all.
No.
Or the upper classes. But
Right.
yeah, like that scene where it made me laugh nervously when she kicked that woman down the stairs.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, whoa. It was funny, but it was also like really fucked up. And yeah, I was like, but that kind of shit happens. People do that to each other, you know?
Yeah, and I think a lot of those crucial little plot points were set up really well because on the one hand I thought, oh man, it's cruel in a way because like she could die from that. She could easily get seriously hurt, and yet she was coming up to, like, she was such a threat, you know, coming up there, and she was essentially, it was like it was going to be one of the two of them, you know, and so it was a fight for survival. And I think a lot of those moments where there was conflict and violence came down to that sort of dynamic, which was, so it didn't feel gratuitous, you know.
I was like, yeah, maybe I would have done the same thing in that situation.
Right. It's very thoughtful.
Because otherwise everything would have gone to shit if that woman had exposed herself, you know.
Right. And I love the way, I'm still not going to spoil this, but just the way that what happens with the dad of the poor family, like that that it comes down to this really ephemeral thing of him being, it seemed to be about him realizing how superficial that the rich man's relationship with his wife was, and that he had this smell that he couldn't get off of himself that the rich people could always notice. It seemed to be like those two things coming together that led him to just kind of blow up.
Yeah.
And I thought, I love those kinds of things where the movie doesn't pre-digest the whole, you know, what's happening. There's nobody talking about it and going like, oh, I'm a bit peeved about, you know, that whole thing. It's like, no, it just happens and you kind of figure it out or you don't.
And that's the way things work in societies. People don't go around expressing themselves explicitly like the way the disdain they feel for other people. It's, you notice it in subtle ways, the way it's communicated, you know. It's not like, oh, you're a poor, dirty, gross person, get away from me. But they express it, and the people who are poor sense it. And I thought the movie expressed that in a cool way.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a very obvious, like, he was turning his nose up and like plugging his nose kind of gesture. But it was about smell, you know. It wasn't like, oh, you're poor and gross and your clothes are dirty, get away from me. It was, And
it wasn't like he was trying to do it in front of the guy or something. Yeah, I mean, it was happening in front of him, but it wasn't like this
obvious insult or something.
Yeah. That guy's voice, the rich guy, it sounded like a total put on to me. Do you think there are people who really sound like that?
I don't know.
It was crazy to me. Like,
What
it
did
sounded
you
like a
notice about
cartoon
it?
voice. Like, it was very, it sounded kind of self-consciously boomy and like he was trying to sound more important than he was or something.
I think that definitely happens.
Really?
Yeah, think about like politicians.
I guess.
The way they talk is so affected.
It was just like, it kind of had this music to it, like this. Like every time, everything that came out of his mouth was like that. And I'm like, how?
Oh, I think there are definitely people like that.
Huh.
Especially in that strata of class.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense.
Stratum of class.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, strata is plural. Anything you wanted to say to wrap up?
Nah.
Yeah,
Save it for next time because it'll take several minutes.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, bye everybody.
Bye.